Welcome to A Canadian Investing in the U.S., a podcast and YouTube channel focused on Canadians buying real estate with host Glenn Sutherland.
Welcome to a new episode of A Canadian Investing in the U.S. This week, my guest is Bob Lachance. Bob, you want to start off by just giving everybody a bit of a background to yourself, who you are, what you do?
Well, first of all, thanks for having me. Since obviously you're in Canada, I played professional hockey for 8 years. So my brother played for the Montreal Canadiens for a bit, and he was in the NHL for a long time. Myself, I got drafted. Played minors for a while, 4 years in the U.S. and 4 years in Europe. So that's just started off. So hopefully I get everyone's attention now.
Yeah. Oh, definitely. You've hooked me.
So I started investing back in 2004. Anything from fix and flip. I know you do those in the United States as well. And then I got into short sale world, which is when properties are overdebted. I discounted them down with the bank. Started a real estate education program, lent money, got into commercial, single family. Fast forward, while I was doing that, I also started a virtual assistant company back in 2014 because of the need of, when costs start rising, and I know the same thing in Canada as they are in the United States, costs continue to rise. Here in the United States, minimum wage is getting out of control. So for any small business to build and start scaling, we all have budgets. Everyone has a budget. So I realized there was a need for the virtual assistant space and outsourcing. So I started my first company in 2014. Fast forward, we have right now over 500 plus virtual assistants and clients.
Wow. So do you, for all those VAs, do you focus on a certain country where they're coming from, or is it kind of all over the place?
All my virtual assistants are the Philippines. I just find that, I've tested a lot of different countries, and I know there's a lot of countries that have, different types of VAs or individuals. And Philippines for us have been fantastic because they're very, very customer service centric, which we obviously need in our business.
Cool. So when people say virtual assistants, it's kind of like a sort of a, I don't know, open term, because there's sometimes they're really I'm guessing because you have 500 that you have all the different styles, but some of them are just pretty much anybody that you have to basically mold and customize into whatever business you are. And then I assume you have ones that are trained for certain types of roles already.
Yeah. I'll explain that a little bit.
Sorry, I'm jumping the gun maybe.
We have a pretty cool process, but that was a great question. We have a pretty cool process. So in the Philippines, I set up different departments. We have a sourcing and staffing department or recruiting department where we recruit virtual assistants from all over the country. Once they come in our funnel, we pre-screen them. Once they pass our pre-screen, then they go to our training team. So they train for about a month on a bunch of different tasks within real estate investing. So any real estate professional, whether, we have clients that are property managers, fix and flippers, attorneys, you name it, anything in the world of real estate. So, mortgage lenders, etc. So what we do is once they pass through our training, we also have a test at the end. So not everyone gets through training, which is very, very important, because I know you and I had this conversation a little bit before. What happens in the virtual assistant world is you want to make sure you have a great experience. You want to make sure those virtual assistants stay with you when you're done that process. I've run into that. That's one of the reasons why I helped start my company, was because of the pain of bringing on a virtual assistant. Well, first of all, interviewing about 100 of them, finally picking one, and then within 2 weeks, they no longer showed up. And I'm like, oh, I got to rinse and repeat. So after, you're doing that training, I know you felt the same pain. So we created a whole process. We created that training, we created that recruiting, training, and then placements. When, if you say, hey, I'm looking for someone who I want on the phone, we'll do all of that pre-screening, we'll pre-train them, and then we'll make sure we give you the individuals that are very, very good on the phones, as an example. And then at that point, we help you manage them because we have a client service manager that oversees the relationship. So we take care of everything from A to Z.
That's awesome. What just popped in my head when I was listening to that is if you have all these people all trained, and anyway, you say they're working with somebody like me and I hired them. Is there ever a risk that they just leave your company and go right to the other company, or is there in their contract that they can't do that, or how do you? Because we were
Yeah,
talking.
there's non-competes. Yeah, that's a great question. Again, there's non-compete stuff that we have with them as well. So that helps protect that side of it. And also, if hypothetically something happens where they do leave, then we replace them as well for you. So we have, like I said, we have a number of virtual assistants that are already trained, waiting, ready to go.
That's awesome.
Yep.
So even like we were talking beforehand, I've had different experiences with virtual assistants. I've had sometimes where they you bring them in and they just go, right? And that's usually the ones that were trained for a specific like piece of software or something like that. So they flew it. And I've had other ones that honestly didn't work out for me. And I like to retrospect or look back at situations, projects, houses, and try to figure out where we went wrong. And typically it was me whenever I thought about it. Do you find that people have like the same sort of thing where they're like, these virtual assistants aren't trained to do what I want or something like that? And do you have a sort of process to train the people who are going to use the virtual assistant?
Again, that is a great question because I felt that same thing. And when I first started hiring virtual assistants back in 2013, I was the worst client ever to have. I was the worst individual to work with a VA because I said, hey, I know I need help, but I really didn't identify what I needed help in. So you're asking them to do QuickBooks, you're asking them to cold call, you're asking them to fill out spreadsheets. Those are two different types of people. And I'm like you said, I took a step back and I realized, wow, I'm really the challenge, right? And the reason why my first VA didn't move or didn't actually work out. So I took a step back. And now what I see through all this learning and obviously working in my own real estate business. So I also have a real estate company. We do about 180 transactions per year, whether it's, a little bit of fix up, a little bit clean up, buy and sell. We also hold properties. So I do a lot of the same stuff that you do. And I use my VAs for that side of it as well for lead generation. But when you look at it, the one thing I see the most successful individuals create a list of tasks in a job description of what they need help with. So we have a strategy session in our company now that walks them through, that helps. Like for instance, if you said, hey, I need help and I'm not sure, what I'll do is our admissions team would walk you through, say, hey, listen, here's some examples of what our clients are actually using, and here's a way to look at it. So then they help them really create a plan on what that VA can implement and should be implementing on a daily basis that will help you reach your goals.
I know this question is going to be different for every single company, but what would you think the first job that you should hire or move out to a VA would be?
So it all depends on what type of investor you are. But the way I look at it is, if you don't have leads in a business, you don't have a business, right? So in my opinion, it would be lead generation, not knowing where you are in your business, because it could be marketing and branding. It could be posting on social media to get your face out there, to get your message out there. Next step would be lead generation. So actually driving in leads for you to be able to purchase, because if we're in real estate, we need motivated sellers to be, for us to be able to talk to be able to buy their properties. So I would look at that side of it. And then if it's selling properties, transaction coordinating, help you actually coordinate the sales of those property would be another one.
That makes a lot of sense. I know I've seen people try to take out like sales and stuff like that. I usually find that that's a bad idea. It's something that you should really be doing at least off the start.
Yeah, but what's funny though? That's very, very important, and I agree 1,000%. Because the lead generation, so virtual assistant does a great job of actually putting the leads in front of you. I, just like you, agree that it's our job because it's our money, right? So it's our job, whether it's ourselves, me or you, or someone in our office that is trained on sales, because we're the only ones who know exactly how to sell in our own market. Because the United States, Canada, people are different in every single area. So I'll know the sales in Northeast Connecticut or Northeast United States is a little different than the Southwest.
Yeah, no, it makes sense. So say that there's somebody like me just coming to you. Is that how it sort of goes? You kind of mentioned maybe like 2 questions ago, and my mind's just jumping all over the place. So you come in, you kind of have an interview about what you're going to do, or maybe walk me through like the onboarding process and how this would work for somebody so that they understand it ahead of time. Hello, everybody. Thanks for listening to the podcast. I just wanted to let you know that I've created a new coaching program. I believe the new coaching program has way more value than any of the programs that have even existed in the past. What we've done is pre-recorded all the lessons so that you can work through it at your own pace. which is pretty cool. And then we're going to meet up on a regular basis to answer the questions, do deal analysis, and actually spend our time together working on things instead of spending our time learning things. I think this will make a seamless transition to buying in the United States and will help you solve a lot of your problems. If this is of interest to you, go to glensutherland.com/coaching. I hope to help you guys invest in the United States, and I hope we provide as much value as possible. Back to the podcast.
Absolutely. So if someone listens to this podcast, for example, and they say, you know what, they contact you, they say, Glenn, I'm looking to invest in, I don't know, Indianapolis. I know it's a great buy and hold market. It's a great fix and flip market, etc. Yep. And they say, where should I start? And you're going to say, just like this, probably lead generation. So what I would do is you're going to contact us. You say, hey, listen, I need help setting up some systems. What do you recommend? We always recommend, 3 different types of things, or what I do in my own business, because we train on exactly what I do in my business, which is very, very important, right? Because I think for me, and I listen to a bunch of your episodes, you have lenders on your show that you use as well, which I think is really, really cool. So yeah. You not only use the individuals that you have on your podcast, I think that's the best thing to do. So for me, I use my VAs so I know exactly what works. So if someone said, all right, I'm looking to invest in this market, I would focus on the lead generation, whether it's, sending direct mail, whether it's direct to seller, cold calling, text messaging, online ads, etc. So that's what I would focus on. And our admissions team will walk you through that. And then what we will do is then we will go to our pool of virtual assistants, and that's with our placements team. And our placements team will interview a bunch of virtual assistants that fit exactly with the tasks you're looking for. And then they'll set up a time with you. We'll pick 3 of our top virtual assistants and put you on interviews. If you need any help with what interview questions to ask, we could also give you those as well.
That makes sense. And then, so I'm just looking down the software. Yep. These people are going to be, having to, I don't know if they're using like List Source or whatever to pull their lists or whatever different softwares you have. And then I'm guessing these people have been trained on a certain specific piece of software.
Yeah, and it's easy to train because we have our client service managers too that can help as soon as you pick your virtual assistant, because it's very, very difficult, as you know, to train on 1,000 different softwares.
Oh, yeah.
If I hire someone in my office, they won't know at all, what softwares to be trained on. But the great thing for us is they have a base of, a specific software. And if you really look at it, you peel back the onion, majority of softwares are very, very similar. So, yeah. And I call it the 80-20 rule, right? 80% of all of us, you included me, probably learn the same stuff. And it's the 20% that make us different than each other.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay. So, what else don't I know about VAs? Because honestly, I've only used a couple in my past. I have 2 of them that I'm using right now. And I've honestly found that maybe from my perspective on these current ones that are working so well, they came trained on a certain piece of software. I just, instead of trying to put them in a new piece of software, I just incorporated that software into my life. and I was the one to adapt. And because of that, they can fly on it. I have more free content. So if you're interested, I created a PDF guide and a video to go along with the PDF guide to complement it. And what the guide is all about is the 5 most common mistakes that Canadians make when investing in the United States. So if you're interested in this free guide, go to CanadianInvestingInTheUSA.com/mistakes. And let's go back to the podcast. And it's free.
Yeah. So what I wanted to, here's one of the things that's very important. Your virtual assistant he's part of your business, or she's part of your business. It's kind of like, this, it's ever since COVID, people are open to remote work. So because my virtual assistants are the Philippines, there's no difference between, I live in Connecticut, right? There's no difference between someone working for me that lives in Massachusetts. You're from Ontario. If someone lives in Montreal, it's still the same. That is considered a virtual assistant. It's a remote worker. So what I would say is be very comfortable working with someone that doesn't work out of your office, because we're in a different world now. I know back in the day, it used to be pretty interesting when I was talking to people like, oh, well, remote work, I don't get it. I don't understand. But now everyone, the guard is down. They understand that, hey, there's high quality that still goes on in our businesses if they are not in your office. So definitely look at virtual assistants, especially if your budget, I don't care, what kind of business you are. You could be, I don't know. You could be Mark Zuckerberg. He still has a budget. I mean, he's got, you could be Elon Musk. He still has a budget.
Yep.
We all have a budget. So for us to continue to scale or outsource some of the tasks that we need to either hit our goals or to grow, we need to start looking at outsourcing to, remote companies.
I was just thinking about back in the day when I had an actual job. A lot of times when you're starting a job, you end up shadowing someone. Is that like a way you can do? Is that something you could do with using a VA?
See, what I do to train my virtual assistants as well, we obviously have a whole month of training, but for, what we find to work very, very well. So if you have a new tool, you just do, 10-minute videos. 10-minute videos, clip them, 10-minute videos, clip them. Before you know it, you have an hour's worth of video, and now you have a virtual assistant who's up and running just like that.
Okay. That was one of the problems I had with my first virtual assistant, as I made a whole bunch of videos on how to do stuff. And the software I was, hosting it with, it showed that every single work day, they watched all the videos again. So like the first hour of the day, they refreshed all the videos. It was totally them. But I wonder, looking back, if I was giving too advanced of tasks off the start for me, an completely untrained VA.
Yeah. I mean, I think everyone's different. Like I said, we have trained virtual assistants that come in with a baseline foundation. So it'll cut that learning curve in half. So that's the difference between, just like you, I did the same exact thing. I went out and found my own. I interviewed 100 and then I trained them. For me, it's very, very time consuming, and it's, disheartening if they don't work out. So, and this same thing, like, if you hire someone in your own office that doesn't work, you're like, oh, I gotta start this over again.
Oh, yeah.
So they have a baseline coming in.
Mind you, like if you're hiring stuff for your own office, just because of, Canadian laws or US laws, it's a lot more difficult to switch them out if they aren't working compared to a VA, right?
Exactly. And you don't have to pay, I know in the United States, you have to pay all these different taxes. You have all this overhead for an employee with a virtual assistant. You pay none of that.
And then severance if you let them go, and that stuff.
Oh yeah.
So one thing too is even just thinking about shadowing, if you did want to go try to do something like that off the start. Some VAs work at Eastern time. Some of them are in Thailand time or Philippines time. Is there any what would you recommend? And is there a difference in the rate that they charge based on when you're getting them to work?
Yeah, there's no difference in rate. It's time zone specific. So, for instance, if someone's in Eastern time zone, our virtual assistants work that time zone. Just so I've been there probably 20 times in the Philippines, and the nightlife. So they work at night, and that's very, very common. The Philippines are built off call centers. So majority of the industry or a huge industry over there are call centers, and they work. So every time we call, let's say AT&T, or we call someone, a health provider, whatever, majority of those call centers are routed to the Philippines. So when we're calling, whether it's Central Standard Time, Eastern Standard Time, Pacific, they're all working at night. So it's very, very commonplace. So that's one of the misconceptions, like we talked about, that is there. They work at night. It's very, very normal.
Yeah. Honestly, I think it was whenever I read the 4-Hour Work Week, which was 10 years ago when I first got excited about VAs. I was like, holy crow, this is a game changer, right? Because it had a different mindset before that. Before I let you go, was there anything I should have asked you that I should have asked you to explain about VAs or anything along those lines?
Not really. You did some very, very good questions. I would just say for me, as costs go up around the world, outsourcing is very, very important. I do it in my own business. Instead of bringing on, 30 employees, I bring on 30 plus virtual assistants, and it works out very, very well. And it doesn't only work in the real estate space. We have medical VAs as well. We have VAs that work for lawyers, so attorneys, things like that. So it doesn't only, look at it in the real estate space, but for us, obviously, this is a real estate podcast focusing on that. If we want to continue to grow, it is something I would definitely recommend looking into, whether it's my company or any other company. It's something to look into if you want to grow your business.
I love it. If people are interested in finding out about your company, your product, how do they, the website, or how do they track you down to get the information for that?
Yeah, check us out on our website. It's revaglobal.com, REVA global.com, or you could send me a direct email, bob@revaglobal.com. We're also on the internet, we're on Facebook, LinkedIn, TikTok, Instagram, all those sites.
Awesome. Well, Bob, thank you for coming on the show. I'm gonna look you up on your hockey stats and stuff after this, but thank you for coming on the show. I really appreciate it.
All right, thanks for having me, Glenn. Appreciate it.
That was a nice video. Bye.